I've coached over 500 executives and entrepreneurs over the last decade. CEOs, founders, guys running 7 to 9 figure companies. And almost every single one of them came to me after months and sometimes years of wasting time trying to get in shape with nothing to show for it physically. They were frustrated. So if you gave me a brand new client today, a business owner who was 30, 40, 50 pounds overweight, and you told me I had to get them into elite shape in 90 days, but I couldn't use any fad diets, they couldn't live in the gym, no 2-a-days, and the protocol that we run, they have to be able to sustain after those 90 days, here's exactly what I would do. Now, keep in mind, this video will not be built off of theory. In fact, my average client loses 25 pounds of fat and gains 5 pounds of muscle just in their first 90 days. And the results we continue to produce year over year, they speak for themselves. If you're new here, my name is Jacob Beneventi. I'm the owner of Limitless Transformation Coaching, and we are on a mission to help leaders transform their physiques so that they look better, feel better, and lead better. What I've noticed in 10 years of coaching is that when the leader decides to transform, that inspires everyone around them to do the same. Now, our imaginary entrepreneur needs a name. We're gonna call him Bob. Step 1 for Bob is the audit. I need to know about 3 numbers before we can craft the perfect plan. Now, hopefully Bob already has these numbers for us, but if not, these are exactly what I need. The first number I need to know is the actual amount of calories that Bob is consuming right now, not what he thinks he's consuming, because a lot of people are wishful thinkers about how much they eat or how little they eat or how much protein they're eating. They think and they feel, but they don't know. Week 1 would be all about data collection. I would have Bob track everything, the good, the bad, the ugly, to realize how much food he's actually bringing in. Now, with a lot of entrepreneurs and business owners, maybe they're not eating all the time, but when they do eat, client dinners, birthday parties, travel on the road, and if you're a business owner, you know some of those nights, they're stressful and they lead to cocktails, sometimes more than you might like to admit. And what seems like not that much food might add up to 3,000, 3,500 calories. I don't care where we start with Bob. What I do want to know is the exact amount of food he's actually consuming, because it's not only important for me to know as the coach and the facilitator of this transformation, it's important for Bob to know so he can start to modify his behaviors. The first number we need to know is his actual nutrition before we just throw some arbitrary number at him. The second number I need to know is his body composition. Now, we could use an AI scanner to figure out roughly where his body composition is, but what I would rather do is send him out to get a DEXA scan, because if Bob is 230 pounds at 30% body fat, that is a completely different body composition, which means we'd have a completely different goal than if Bob was at 230 pounds at 15% body fat. It's going to be a different amount of weight and fat that needs to be lost in order to be optimized. And the third number is Bob's daily movement. Now, I'll be honest, most of the people I start with are not moving that much. We sit at desks all day, we're on Zoom calls. Many clients come to me averaging 3,000, 4,000 steps a day, just moving when it's necessary, but spending a lot of time being sedentary. And so we'll want to know how frequently Bob is moving. Maybe he's very active and gets his steps in. Maybe we're going to have to make some modifications, but if we don't know, then we don't know. All right, so we need to raise the awareness both for Bob and for me. Step 2 is a nutritional framework. Once we've collected all that data, we're going to give Bob some guidelines with his nutrition. And notice I said guidelines. We're not just going to throw him a bunch of chicken and broccoli 4 times a day. That's where most coaches lose people. In that style of eating, where it might work a couple days out of the week, it doesn't work when you're traveling. It doesn't work when you have client dinners. It doesn't work when your kid has a birthday party. So we're going to install a flexible nutrition framework. This is what I do with all of my clients. It prioritizes 2 key things. The first thing is total caloric consumption. We need to, if we're going to lose body fat, get Bob into a caloric deficit. Now, for him, let's say we have him at 2,250 calories per day. Just an arbitrary number, but let's say that's his caloric goal. Realizing that energy balance is the driver of weight loss change. The next thing we're going to prioritize for Bob is having a protein goal. Now, keep in mind, we're trying to lose body fat, not just body weight. And in order to preserve Bob's lean muscle, we need to make sure he's getting enough protein. So we're going to set his protein gram goal at 1 gram per pound of goal body weight. If Bob's at 230 pounds, and we need to get him down to 190. We're gonna set his protein goal at 190. For the sake of this video, to keep things very simple, the distribution of carbs and fat after we've set the calories and the protein don't matter that much. He'll still transform even if those are a little bit wonky, and this provides him a lot more flexibility to choose to eat what he wants. Now, it's not a prison, it's a framework. It's not a, you must do this. It's a, hey, here are the principles that lead to change. Follow these principles if you want to win. Now, practically speaking, this just leads to more freedom, because guess what? Date night, it's not off the table for these next 90 days. A steak dinner, it's not off the table for these next 90 days. Ice cream with the kiddos, it's not off the table. But when you have goals nutritionally, you know how many calories you need to hit or stay below and how much protein you need to hit, then you reverse engineer your day. If it's gonna be gelato to end the day, throw in that double scoop of gelato at 400 calories and work your day in reverse. This is critical and most people miss it. Most people wanna lose body fat, so they create a nutritional prison and they end up hitting a wall. We're not gonna do that with Bob. Step 3, the training protocol. Now, are we gonna have Bob training 7 days a week? Well, not necessarily. I mean, if Bob has time and he likes being in the gym, yeah. But our average client trains from 2 to 3 days a week for 45 minutes. That's it. This isn't a 75 hard challenge. This is about creating sustainable habits that lead to predictable results. I mean, would it be optimal to get Bob up to maybe 4 or 5 days a week in the gym? Maybe, but only if he has the time. Because when it comes to training and nutrition, compliance is the science. So what he can do, he will do. So I'm gonna set Bob at 3 days a week training in the gym at 45 minutes. Again, this isn't a 75 hard, no 2-a-days, just a really structured, focused training session 3 days out of the week. Now, I'm gonna ask Bob to treat that training session like a meeting on his calendar that's going to make him a lot of money. It is non-negotiable. He must get in the gym and train hard. And when he trains, we're gonna be tracking his training to make sure he's staying on a progression arc. Because if his training output starts to dip tremendously, which we can easily track, I have all my clients track it through our app, we'll be able to see that. We'll be able to restructure things to make sure we're getting the volume up. So he's gonna train, and he's gonna train hard 3 days a week. And if he has more time, maybe we up it to 4 or 5, but we will start with 3. Step 4, the walking protocol. Remember I said a lot of people start and they're pretty sedentary, taking 3,000, 4,000 steps a day. Walking is one of the main drivers in fat loss, but it's so unsexy, nobody really talks about it. Nobody really gives it the value that it deserves because it's not a catchy YouTube title. Walk more, change your life. But if any of you have been to Europe before, you've noticed that there's not a lot of really obese people over there. Is it because their food's really low calorie? No. A lot of them start their day off with a cappuccino and a croissant and end their day with wine and pasta. That's not low calorie food. But the average step count in Europe is almost double what the average step count in America is. And in most cases, especially if they live in the city, it's even higher than that. Steps are critical. Think about it like this. Let's say you train hard in the gym, even 5-6 days a week. Well, you're only gonna burn about 300 to 400 calories in that training session. If you're really hitting it hard, maybe more. But the difference between taking 3,000 or 4,000 steps a day and 12,000 steps a day is about 500 to 600 calories. And that's movement without exhaustion. That's just taking the stairs, parking a little bit further back in the parking lot, walking while you take a call with a family member, having a meal, and then after dinner going for a 20-minute walk with the fam. That's how simple this is. And it is critical. So you're gonna burn more calories each day without exhausting yourself like you would if you were running or sprinting or trying to hit 2-a-days in the gym. So for this business owner, Bob, we're going to set a non-negotiable step goal for him every single day. You've all heard about the 10,000 step a day goal. It's kind of like the standardized goal for how to be moving frequently throughout the day. We're gonna do that with Bob too. We're gonna start him at 10,000 steps a day, but that's gonna be his basement. He's gotta hit that. He can always go north of it. Keep in mind everything we talked about so far, it's parameters. Parameters based off principles. These aren't rules. This isn't, Bob, do what I say. This is, Bob, hey, here's how bodily transformation occurs. Here are some of the blind spots that might be in your life. Let's make sure you become more aware of those. Because really, if you're gonna change your life, it's on you. And the more awareness you have, and the more aware you are of how simple this process can be, the higher likelihood you have of completely transforming. And that's what we're gonna do with Bob. One more note about steps. I recently had a client, Andrew, who went from 22% body fat down to 9% body fat, and he was running a lot when we met. He shifted from running that frequently and being in the gym every single day to 3 hard training sessions and prioritizing his step goal. And he ended up going from being stuck, unable to change his body composition, to shredding down to 9%. First time in his adult life seeing his abs. He even told me, he's like, dude, my kids look at me now like I'm a superhero. Step 5, accountability and adjustments. Most solo fitness attempts fail because there's no accountability involved. There's no standard for progress, and there's no feedback to help somebody stay on track and to modify their programming when life gets hectic. So what we're gonna have Bob do is report to his coach, me, on a weekly basis. We're gonna look at his protein consumption, his calorie consumption. He's gonna take progress photos. We're gonna look at his compliance to his training and how he's executing his training. We're gonna look at his step goal and his average step goal per day. We're gonna look at his weight trend to see, is he losing 2+ pounds of fat per week? Because I really think with this structure, it should be easy for Bob to lose about 2, even 3 pounds a week early on in his process. Now that might slow down as time goes on, but we'll account for that because with less fat to lose, your rate of change should slow down. It's pretty common for people to get really motivated to work out and then have a couple rough weeks where they're traveling and their nutrition gets out of whack, their training gets out of whack, and that becomes a slow trickle process of them losing traction on their progress. We're not going to allow that to happen to Bob. We're going to modify so he can execute when he's on the road, and we're going to communicate so he can stay on point with this goal because it's so important for him. It's important for his family. It's important for his team. You know, entrepreneurs, they hire coaches for their business. They hire great talent for their team so they can take on jobs that they either can't do or don't want to do, or just to have better talent in that position. Why would your body be any different? If you think about an elite athlete, they invest tremendously into their body. I heard stories that LeBron James spends $1 million+ per year just on his body. And lastly, make sure you listen up right here because this is very important. I would make Bob pay. I would make him invest a significant amount of money into this transformation. Why? Is it because I need the money? No. It's because there's an abundance of free information online. The video you're watching right now was completely free. And if you executed on this value, you would change your life. I have no doubt about it. You would change your body. I have no doubt about it. But why don't people change? If Bob's been struggling for years and nothing has changed, it's because he hasn't made the proper investment into this goal. When you invest into your goals, you're signaling to your conscious mind, this is important to me. I might even ask him, hey, Bob, how much do you want this investment to sting? What would make you do it? $10,000? $20,000? $30,000? You know, that might sound like a lot of money, but to some people it's not. So I would want to make sure he's investing an amount of money that makes him certain he's going to accomplish his goal. Because look, those who pay attention. ChatGPT is free, YouTube is free, Claude is free, but how come Bob hasn't changed yet? The more you invest into your goal, the higher likelihood you have of achieving the outcome you're looking for. So that's the protocol, 5 steps. Audit your data, install a nutritional framework that is flexible, commit to a non-negotiable training protocol, have a step goal every single day, walk more than you think you need to. And lastly, invite accountability into your life. And with that, invest. Pay for the outcome you're looking to achieve. This formula is exactly how our average client loses 25 pounds of fat and gains 5 pounds of muscle in their first 90 days. I think Bob could even do better than that. And this is all without living in the gym, sacrificing all the meals that you enjoy, or sacrificing family time and things that you need to do in your business. So hopefully this is helpful. I'm excited to take on Bob and for him to transform his life because it's going to inspire everybody. If you enjoyed this, subscribe or maybe watch one of these videos right here. Have a blessed day.